Hello, Pajama Gramma, Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here with secret number 8. We are to secret number 8 already, and this is all about the Epiphany Bridge script. I'm actually going to break this little chapter. It's only pages 114 to 127, but I'm going to break it down into 3 parts, and I'm doing that for a very specific reason. That's how important this is. Number 1, being able to tell your story and share your story in a particular way, the way that we've learned from Michael Haug and the way that Russell breaks it down for us in Expert Secrets, because we're going through Expert Secrets, the Underground Playbook, to find your message, build a tribe, and change the world, which is, I hope, why we're all here. But this is so important, the ability to tell a story. And when you master this skill, it will make everything in your life easier. All of your interactions, all your business interactions, all your personal interactions. Because if you use this as a powerful way to send a message to your kids or your business partners or your employees, it really, it reaches them at a level that is so much deeper than just telling a story or telling somebody what to do. So, page 114 has got the Epiphany Bridge script graphic on it. I would say that if you don't have that in a bigger form, go ahead and blow that up on your copy machine and put it by your computer or somewhere that you'll see it, because it's a great visual reminder of each of the steps of the Epiphany Bridge and of the Hero's 2 Journeys. We've learned now about an epiphany and what that is. We've learned about the Hero's 2 Journeys and that type script or format. And this script merges those together in a way that makes it actionable, that you can learn from and apply. I'm going to make a little plug for the product that Jim Edwards created with Russell Brunson called Funnel Scripts. He has got an Epiphany Bridge script in there. Boy, that's a hard word to say. I like to say aha because it's a lot easier to say than epiphany. But he has got an Epiphany Bridge script in there. I think it's about 58 questions long. I've done it several times for different clients and for myself. And it takes a good hour to complete the script. But it pops out your first version of your Epiphany Bridge story, and it's really powerful because you can just take and then edit that. Makes it super easy. It's taken me a lot longer to do and go through this process on my own than it ever has taken me to use this script. So I just want to highly recommend and put a plug in there for Funnel Scripts. There's so much value in that product that it is unbelievable. I'm obviously a Jim Edwards fan. Jim Edwards is one of the first people that I ever followed online. Like back in the late 90s, I started following him, and even though I didn't dive into the online world with both feet until about a year and a half ago, I'd been dabbling in it and learning things and growing and following Jim Edwards all those years. I know, crazy. And so actually what got me involved in ClickFunnels and Expert Secrets and back into Russell's world, because I'd heard of Russell, but I didn't follow him because in his early years, he was difficult to follow because he hadn't honed his practice and he hadn't really become the expert that he is today. And I mean, the absolute phenomenon that he is today back then when I first became aware of him. And so it was only because of Jim Edwards about a year and a half ago that I even heard of ClickFunnels again and got involved in it. And I am so thankful and grateful that I did. That when I get an opportunity to plug something he's involved in, I absolutely do. Besides, it's so freaking incredible. Once you get exposed to it, you'll be like, why did I ever do all this on my own? Why did I ever think I had to figure all this out on my own? Because it gives you such amazing writing prompts. So unless you're a world-class automatic copywriter, I think everybody should have funnel scripts. If you're going to do sales funnels and work and you want to present your ideas in a way that actually speaks to your customer and your ideal customer, it just helps with every step of the way. And since he's aligned it with the funnels, the ClickFunnels and with ClickFunnels and with the Expert Secrets and the .com Secrets book, it's just become a gotta-have tool. I mean, I can't imagine not having it. So you're welcome, Jim Edwards. So, Epiphany Bridge script. Let's talk about the parts. What Russell's done with this is he has made it so easy, and then Jim with the Epiphany Bridge the script and the questions that you can go through. I think he's done the shortened version by now. You know, I haven't been in there for a while. I've been busy doing other things, but I believe that the shortened version's in there as well because it was really long. The long version was great for what we're doing right now for your origin story, but it's nice to have a shortened version of that for the things that we're going to create moving forward. And so I know, I think I've actually used that. I'm going to have to go back and look because I got kind of hooked on the big one, and I like the big one. And I know that once I do the big story, I can always pare it down and pull out pieces of it to do a shortened version of it. So to me, it's more powerful just to spend the hour, hour and a half doing the full-fledged Epiphany script. So what are the components? And like I said, what Russell did is he took each of these main 8 steps of creating a great Epiphany bridge story and created a script by asking a question that you need to answer for each of the 8 components of it. And I'm just going to run through those briefly. I'm going to recommend highly that you read this chapter and you read it. We'll probably read it more than once. We'll probably read it 2 or 3 times because we're going to break it down and do 2 or 3 different things. Today we're just going to get a quick overview and exposure to it and start thinking about the questions. Tomorrow we will go more in depth into the questions, and then the day after we are going to actually create our Epiphany bridge story using all of these questions and this whole script. And we're going to write the baby out longhand or on your computer if you prefer, but we're going to actually do it. So let's just briefly go over the 8 steps and the 8 questions. You can look at the graphic and see how that clicks in your mind. When I just look at the graphic, until I actually read the information behind it, the graphic I sort of understood, but I didn't really get it until I read and I understood the questions that go along with this graphic. Now I can look at the graphic and it triggers for me and I can write right off the graphic. But originally it didn't work for me because, again, this was created for someone else's mind, and it takes a little of the backstory or the information to make it clear so that I can understand it. So an Epiphany bridge story has 8 sections, and each of the 8 sections he's added a question to. The first one is the backstory, and the question is, what is your backstory that gives us a vested interest in your journey? So the backstory is, why do we care? If you don't tell a story that gives your listener a reason to listen to you or something they can relate to, they're not going to care about anything else. They're not going to care about your journey. That's why it's so important that we develop your character in the first 10% of whatever it is that you're presenting. So if I'm doing a webinar, I better show who I am and get people to care about me and get them to be able to relate to me in the first 10 minutes, or they're not going to watch the whole webinar. The vast majority of people log out of our webinars in the first 6 minutes of watching. And that's usually because we haven't done a good enough job introducing our character and giving them a reason to give a you-know-what about what we've got to say. If they don't like us as a character, if they don't like or if they can't relate to where we've been and what we've got to say, they're not going to listen to us and they're going to log off. They're not going to listen to our story. They're certainly not going to listen to a webinar or any type of a presentation that we're trying to make to them. So the backstory, it's really important. Why do they care? And where we start in our backstory tends to be where our ideal client is right now. They're at the beginning of this journey that they want to go on. They know they're in a place they don't love. They know they need to change. They know something has to be different, but they don't know what it is. They're often, they don't know what it is that they don't know. So we want to join them where they're at right now, because we want to take them to the transformation of where we are now. So that's going to lead into the next question, the desire. But I want to really hone in on understanding and picking where you're going to begin your story, because that's important. You want to begin your story at a point of high drama generally. But we're not really there yet. We just want to get down in a couple of sentences. What's my backstory? Where are some places that I could begin my backstory? Where do I think my ideal customer is right now? Because that's where I want to try to think of places like where I was feeling the same way they were. I was experiencing the same thing they're experiencing right now, that helped me to begin this journey to become an expert in this area in the first place. Then the second question has to do with your desire. And there's both an external component to your desire and an internal component to your desire. And they're both important. Probably the internal component of your desire is even more important than the external one, because the internal one is the one that taps into the emotion. It's the one that we're all feeling, but nobody's going to talk about because we're all scared. The external one, is common for most people. We're all about saying, I want to lose weight. I want to make $1 million. I want to travel around the world. I want to live a laptop pajama grandma life. I want to this. I want to that. We're pretty open as human beings about sharing our external desire, primarily because most everybody else wants the same things that we do. Everybody wants success and happiness and love and a fun life, right? Or to be happy. Everybody wants that. So it's easy to say, geez, I'm not happy right now. I want to be happy. And that doesn't really get to it at an emotional level. Or, geez, I'm not making enough money now. I want to make $1 million a day. I want to make $1 million a month. I want to make $1 million a year. I want to make $1 million in 10 years. Whatever it is for your ideal customer, the person that you're trying to help transform. And that leads us into, and those things have to do with what it is that they want. They want to be on the top of the mountain. So where they are now, say they make $10,000 a year now and they want to make $100,000 a year. It's easy to share that with people. Hey, I'm struggling. I'm barely making it. I make $10,000 a year and I can't even put food in the refrigerator. I want to make $100,000 a year. That's their external desire. People are pretty open and honest about saying, I want to make 6 figures. I want to make $10K a month. I want to make $1 million. Whatever it is for your ideal customer. But they tend to be very tight-lipped and very closed as to what their internal desire is. And that's because it taps into all of our emotions and insecurities and fears and doubts and worries. It taps into all the things in us that we're most afraid of. But we're all feeling it. How many people do we know that hasn't at some point in their life felt, I'm just not freaking good enough? Especially as we're beginning this journey of sharing our expertise with other people. How many of you feel like, who am I to share my message? I'm not good enough. Okay, we all do. I've been doing this for decades, and I still feel that way sometimes. I've been a successful business owner and runner and corporate executive for decades, and sometimes I still feel like an imposter. I hate this imposter syndrome thing that people are bringing up, because none of us are imposters. We're only ever ourselves, and as long as we're being ourselves, there is no imposter thing. It's only when you're trying to pretend to be something else or someone else that this imposter thing comes into being. And the whole fake it till you make it thing, I don't think you have to fake who you are if you're being who you are. So screw this whole imposter thing, screw this insecurity, screw this I'm not good enough. And if you have some of those doubts and worries and fears, and I know we all do, because I just did a 7-step burn a limiting belief exercise the other day, because I'm not good enough, and it was probably a couple months ago now, but it feels like a couple days, about I'm not good enough because something came up in my life. I don't remember what it was now. And I had gotten this, I woke up one morning, it was this, I'm not good enough to do something. And I'm like, what the heck? Where did that come from? And so I went through a 7-step process, and I actually just shared it on my podcast yesterday is why I'm thinking of it. But I did some Facebook Live videos going through just some fun exercises and steps of how the heck you can get rid of that limiting belief. Because, let me ask you a question. This is a total aside and not having anything to do with Expert Secrets, yet it does, because it's got everything to do with the internal journey and the internal struggle that all of us human beings feel. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. You know, all of those thoughts and all those messages and all that nonsense that society tells us. So I went through this process of doing different things to kill that limiting belief, because we need to kill that limiting belief. Now, my point is, when you say that to yourself in your head, I'm not good enough, how does that make you feel? It makes me feel like crap, because it's a lie. I know it's not true. I am good enough, and you are good enough to be, do, and have anything you can possibly imagine. So that internal belief, guess what? We're all feeling it. So you want to tap back into, if you've picked the time that you're going to begin your story, that is where your ideal customer is now. What were the feelings you were feeling back then? What were the insecurities? What were the doubts? What were the fears? What were the struggles that you were having both externally and internally that you can tap into? Because it's those things that are going to really get people to connect and build rapport with you. Rapport. I called it rapport yesterday, right? Rapport? Okay. I don't know. Brain dump. Brain loss sometimes. I do admit every once in a while I have one of those and I hate to call them senior moments because I'm almost a senior, but even kids have these moments, these flashes of forgetfulness where they're just like, I can't remember the name of this. I can't remember the word. So they're not really senior moments. They're just moments of forgetfulness, and we all have them. So we want to tap into the external struggle, but we really, really want to tap into the internal struggle as well. Don't gloss over this. Don't ignore this, because human nature is to gloss over this and ignore this. And if we do, we lose the power of our story. We lose the power of what we're trying to share with someone because we are afraid to find out and really be vulnerable with what it was. Now listen, you're already on the other side of that because you're the expert, right? So it doesn't do any harm to go back, and it's not scary to go back and revisit what were the emotional trauma and things I was going through when I had this experience in my past. Because we all have experiences in our past that were emotional and traumatic. That's part of what makes us who we are today. That's part of what got us involved in wanting to become an expert in what it is that we're sharing with people today. The way that you get at that, if you're having a hard time remembering, is to ask a series of whys. I teach this and call this the 5 whys. And normally, if you want to find out the real reason that you're feeling or wanting to do something or wanting to create something, is by asking 5 whys. That gets you from the surface thing that you want to share down to the real reason you want to do something. And I agree with Russell. I've found that the first few things people share with you will usually be status related, but it almost always boils down to love. I think almost everything that we do, if you why it down enough, is because of love. We either want to give or receive love, and usually we want to do both. And so by asking a series of why questions, and you can read the examples in the book because they're as good as any, we get down to why we want to do something. You know, one of my favorite ones to share is somebody says they want to make $100,000 a year, or let's say 10K a month. 10K a month seems to be the magic number for people, that if they just make 10K a month, that gives them the freedom to do and pursue what they want. And for most people, 10K a month is a very reasonable way and very comfortable way to live. So let's say that they express that they want to make 10K a month. Okay, so $10,000 a month. That's really doable, by the way, like super easy doable. So, and you can teach anybody how to do that no matter what your expertise is. So say they want to make 10K a month, and you ask them why. And they say, because I want to be able to pay my bills. And then you ask them, well, why do you want to be able to pay your bills? And they say, because I've had debt collectors calling me, and every time they do, it makes me feel terrible and like I'm a total loser. Well, why does that make you feel like a total loser? Because I was raised believing that I should always be able to take care of myself and pay my bills. And then, so those answers all are related to status, right? Then ask, well, why would that make you feel like a loser? And they say, well, because my dad always criticized me and complained about money and told me what a loser I was and that I'd never amount to anything. Wow, right? But bingo, there you got to the real why. And, you know, then you can ask another why. Why did you believe that that was true for you? And they'll say, because I never knew if my dad loved me or not, because he was always telling me what a loser and I was never going to amount to anything. But that gets you to the real root cause of the reason that this person wants to make that 10K a month. And if you can get them to that milestone, you've changed their life, and you can totally help them to do that. So the 5 whys, I use that all the time in my coaching. I know people know I'm doing it, and that's why I try to word the questions in a different way so they don't just think I'm saying, well, why? If you've ever had a 2-year-old, you know that they go through the why phase. Between 2 and 3, every toddler goes through the why phase, where for about a year, they have to know why to everything. And I love it. It's one of my favorite stages of raising kids because it actually makes me think and be able to respond to them with a reasonable answer that a 2 or 3-year-old can understand why I'm doing, saying, thinking, or feeling, or telling them anything. And so it's actually really an eye-opening experience, the whole why phase. Next step, what do we want to get to? So do not ignore the emotional component, the internal component of the desire. The next step is the wall. Whenever we notice that we're in a situation that isn't ideal for what we want right now, we decide at some point that we want to change. We get this desire, and this desire spurs us to want to do something more, want to change, want to have more. If I am struggling financially, we'll use that example because it seems to work. If I'm struggling financially right now, and I know my desire is to make $10K a month for all the reasons I uncovered in my internal and external desire, now that I've got that desire, it's almost, now that I've realized that I have that desire and I've thought about it, it is almost impossible to continue to live in my current situation, of not enough, bill collectors calling, stress over paying bills. It makes that really, really difficult to continue that way. And so the wall is and let's ask the question. What was the wall or problem you hit within the current opportunity that started you on this journey? Well, the wall that you hit is, and it's different for everyone, but what is the wall that you hit? What's the wall you hit? Maybe the wall that you hit was, trying to think of something. The repo guy called and said they're going to take back your car. That was the final straw for you that says, what I'm doing isn't working. My current job is only paying me $2,500 a month. My expenses are $3,500 a month. This is not going to work anymore. I can't do it. That's the wall. The wall is whatever it is for you with your epiphany story, with your experience. So what's the wall for you? And it's the moment that you decide you're going to start on your journey. It's the moment that you say, I can't take this anymore. This is too much. I've got to do something different. What am I going to do? And then you begin to be open to what else might be possible. And you have an epiphany. So what was the epiphany you experienced and the new opportunity that you discovered? So let's go with this example. You get that call from the repo guy and you're like, oh my God, I have 21 days to figure out what I'm going to do, or they are going to come, and they won't come to my house necessarily. They're going to come to my work and they're going to take my car back while I'm at work. What on earth will that feel like if my coworkers, who already think I'm kind of a putz, see my car getting repossessed? So that might be the epiphany that says, oh my God, I've got to find another way to make some money because I don't want my car repossessed. And that might be the epiphany that you start to go online, or you start to pay attention and you listen up, or you see a billboard or some other opportunity or some other way of making more money that you never even considered before. Say, for example, you see a billboard for an online way of making money or something. I don't know, whatever your epiphany was that you're going to share in your story. This probably isn't the best example since I haven't thought it through, but I'm going to go with it because I started it. The next step is the plan. What was the plan that you created to achieve your dream? So let's go with the online business story. Let's say the person is going to build a business online because they know they can do that while they're working at their job, according to what the people say, the gurus say, and the billboard said. So they have the epiphany that, oh, I can create an online business and I can create an income to get me up to $10K a month. And I can do it while I'm at my job. So that's their plan. Their plan is to go ahead and build an online business while they're working at their job. And maybe it's an online expert business because they actually have an expertise in an amazing area that has nothing related to their job, but they want to get into expert secrets and create an expert secrets online business to go with their job while they're in their job. And then once they start to make $20K a month, they say, smell you later, job. Did I take that too far? Maybe. So they decide they're going to start their online business. And whatever that is for your story, what was your plan? trying to think of my personal plan with respect to chronic pain was I was going to frickin' figure something out that worked for me. I had no idea what it was going to be, but I knew that I had to figure it out because nobody was going to figure it out for me. And my plan was to just start looking and everywhere and anywhere and see what came up and see what I could find that would help. And that's not untrue of some of the ways I've looked to solve some of my business problems over the years. I just start looking and opening up my mind, and whatever I find that comes my way that might move me towards solving that problem, I try that. If it doesn't work, I get something else and I try that. So as you're going about your merry way and starting your online business, we're going to stick with, let's say this is George. We're going to stick with George, our ideal client who wants to start his online expert business and make $10K a month. So that's his plan. His plan is to study this, figure this out, figure out how he can create a little business online around his area of expertise. And let's say George is let's make up a hobby for him that he wants to turn into an expert business. Let's say he is an expert maple syrup maker, that he's got access to some land where he can make maple syrup, and he just started it as a hobby, and he just makes a little maple syrup every spring because he lives in Wisconsin, because Wisconsin is awesome. And he's got a friend that's got some acreage that has maple trees on it, so he learned how to tap maple trees, and that's his hobby. And he's decided that he is going to turn this maple tapping business or maple syrup making business into a business online for himself that will help him to get out of his job, because he doesn't love his job. He just does it because he was trying to pay the bills, and it's not even enough to pay the bills, so he's super frustrated. Now, as he decides to take this journey of creating his online business, he's going to run into some conflict, because conflict is what makes the story interesting. If we didn't have conflict and contrast in our lives, let's be honest, our lives would be so boring. Now, when we're going through the conflicts, it doesn't always feel that way, and we think, oh, if I only didn't have these problems. But the truth of the matter is, we only grow through adversity. We only grow when we're challenged. We only grow and become a bigger, better person when something makes us become a bigger, better person. Very few people on the planet actually grow and learn and develop and continuously improve just for the sake of continuously improving. There are some, but they're very rare. And they're definitely the exception, not the rule, of all human beings. Human beings normally just go through the motions and survive. They don't strive for greater achievement. Now, there is a percentage of the population that does, but it is a very small percentage of the population. So what conflicts have you come into or experienced along the way of your journey? As you were becoming who you are now, the expert, what conflicts did you have? My God, I've had so many conflicts in my life, it's not even funny. But at some point in that journey of conflicts, because you probably had a lot more than one, there was a point of no return. There was a point at which you said and you decided, I'm going to make this work no matter what. I'm going to figure this out no matter what, because I can't go back to the way I was before. George starts making progress. And as he's making progress and he's making a little money and he's making a few $1,000s, let's say he runs into, I don't know how he's doing it, but let's say he runs into like the Google slap or his Facebook. Oh, I can relate to this one. His Facebook account gets frozen for a couple of days because he ran an ad that somebody found offensive. Now, I don't know how somebody could find maple syrup offensive, but perhaps someone does. Or, even worse, a maple syrup online competitor sees his stuff, gets scared, and decides to report it as a spam or something and gets his account shut down. This is BS, but it's absolutely real, and it happens every freaking day. So, be advised, don't put all your eggs in one basket, like the Facebook basket. So let's say the conflict is George gets his Facebook shut down, and all he's been doing is Facebook. What the heck's he going to do? Here's the deal. He gets his Facebook shut down, but George is invested. He's been making a couple $1,000s a month. He can smell that 10K, and he knows that he is going to figure this out no matter what. So that he's already hit that point of no return. He's gotten a taste of success, so he knows that he can do more, but he put all his eggs in the Facebook basket, and now he's shut down. What's he going to do? He's going to figure it out. The next step in the process then is achievement. What is the end result? What's your end result? What is the end result you were trying to get? Either you got it or you didn't. Guess what? You might not have gotten it on the first try, but you continue to strive forward and work it out and figure it out. And that is either you made it or you didn't. Where are you in your story? What's part of your story? And maybe part of your origin story, your Epiphany Bridge story, and mine for my health was I figured it out and I got through that, but that's not the only time I had to go through the process because things still came up. So even though that was success back in my origin story, I've had other stories along the way because we will. Our lives are full of epiphany stories. And then the last step is, what was the transformation? What was the transformation that you experienced? What were your old beliefs and how did you leave them? And now what are the new beliefs that you have that have changed everything for you? Because we go on a journey from letting go of our old false beliefs like I'm not good enough, I don't deserve, nothing works out for me, to anything is possible. What is the new belief? What is the new essence of who you are? What is the truth of who you are as the expert that you knew internally always to be true, but you didn't admit to yourself because your subconscious was beating you up and not letting you see it? That is it for today. My phone is almost out of battery, so before it shuts down on me, I want to sign off and say, just start reading this and understanding it and going through it. I'm probably going to type up and share the questions as our worksheet today so you can start thinking about them. And as you read through them, if you want to start making some notes on them, that will serve you well in tomorrow's exercise. Have an awesome day. I love this stuff. It is so exciting. And I have fun examples of it. I've already been through this, so I've done my Epiphany Bridge story for several businesses, and I've helped other businesses go through theirs. So you'd think I could explain it better, right? But I guess it just takes practice. And it's with each different business, you find a different way of explaining it. But this is such a powerful tool. One of the first things that I do when I'm helping a business or an individual to create their attractive character and then share that with anyone else is I give them, and we go through this. We actually use the funnel scripts and go through the 58 questions to create their Epiphany Bridge story because it's a lot easier for most people to just fill in the blanks and answer the questions. And then once they read the story, we start editing and figuring it out. But you can do it this way too if you don't have funnel scripts. Go out, make it a fantastic day. It's kind of rainy here, but I'm hoping the sun's trying to peek out so I can get out for a walk in the park because I need some more energy. Bye. We'll see you tomorrow with part 2 of the Epiphany Bridge script.